So hello guys, Two Cats Video Productions continue our live broadcast, and today we have a speaker, the speaker Lynn. She's in our studio. Hi Lynn, how are you today?
Hi, Nick. It's great to be back.
Yes, it was 1 week, a crazy week since we spoke to you last time, and so much happens. So much happens now, and now we're talking. The main problem is here. We have an energetic. We have a gasoline price rise up, and the more than $4 already. 40 cents since yesterday. The price is going rise up, and you know what? The White House said today it expected to increase the gasoline and energy prices fueled by Russian invasion of Ukraine to be temporary. I can't believe it's gonna be temporary, and also I can't believe we have to be patriotic to pay, for example, $10 for gallon of the gasoline, because the problem is not about Putin. The problem about the politic of the Biden regime. And just to be clear, I want to hear what Jen Psaki told today. Let's see that, and we can discuss after.
Okay. In terms of prices going up, we do anticipate that gas prices and energy prices will go up. That is something that the president has conveyed very clearly to the American public. We also believe it will be temporary and not long lasting. And what our focus is on now is doing everything we can to mitigate and reduce those prices and ensure there isn't a longer term impact. So I can't make new projections for you from here other than to convey that, yes, it is accurate that the invasion by President Putin into Ukraine has impacted global inflation in the United States because of the impact it's had on energy prices, and that is a significant contributor to inflation, the inflationary numbers we saw come out today. You said.
So, do you believe Jen Psaki, and what do you think is going on, and how much we have to pay for the gasoline in the future, for example? What is your opinion?
Well, I mean, I hear experts talk about gases, going up per barrel up to $100. So the reason why it's rising, I like how they just kind of blame it all on Russia, and they don't blame it on policies and the kind of policies that they are legislating right now, and like shutting down our XL gas pipeline, trying to make sure that all the ways of, like, all our fracking is being shut down slowly, little by little. All of that is just it's hilarious that like they would like try to deceive the public into thinking like, oh, this is a Russian thing, right? And yeah, it really is. The Russian thing is actually exacerbating the situation. It's not like the only cause.
Remember, 14 months ago, the United States can even import the gasoline and everything, and we got a complete different situation. And now, what is going on? Biden, he is not, doing something with the electric vehicle. In fact, he not do anything, and also he want to destroy oil here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the invasion into American people against. We have to fight, because in other hands, we don't have a United States anymore, even because we just getting depends from one bad guy, I mean the Putin, to another guy. Iran, for example, they dream to destroy United States completely. And what is the Biden suggestions? We switch between Putin and between Biden, between Iran, or what about the nuclear stations here? It's completely horrible situation, and Biden, he doesn't want to back to produce oil in the United States territory, and this is, in my opinion, that is complete collapse.
Oh yeah. I think what our administration is saying. It's funny that I see one of our audiences is saying like, yes, she lies. That is temporary. It's absolutely true. Um, if they continue to move the way that they are moving. First of all, empowering Iran, right, to have nuclear power, and I think they're due to come out with more nuclear weapons. That's one thing. Pushing the way that they're pushing Russia right now, and then of course, like China is standing there in the background, ready to receive Russia, right, and take on whatever financial difficulties that is going to happen with Russia. And at the same time, like, I don't know if we have stopped. Have we? I'm not up to date on this one, but have we ever stopped purchasing like gas from Russia? We're paying them $700 million a day, right? And we're shouting we want peace in Ukraine. Like, it's very hypocritical.
That's very right, and that's also 9% of the all gasoline we just buying, and it doesn't change any situation in this case, because we remember and Kevin McCartney yesterday, he told what remember Biden, he just called to any bank system and any businessman to stop oil produce and or decrease oil produce in the United States ahead of time. And that means Biden, he just he want to destroy the all oil industry in the United States, and price is going up. And it's not about transportation only, it's not about every family pay $2,000 more per month, even only for gas, but in inflation as well. Inflation is growing up, and it's the record for 40 years already, because it's increasable inflation. And White House seems to be, they don't do anything with that situation, because they say this a temporary or something like Jen Psaki told before. But I really don't believe them. Do you believe it's temporary, and regarding inflation as well?
Yeah, I don't believe it. Remember when they said it was a transitory inflation? And I think the Federal Reserve, I forgot her name now, the lady from back in Obama years, I forgot her name. Anyway, so she came out and she said it was a transitory inflation. And then like several months later, she comes out and she says, no, it's not transitory anymore. It's actually inflation. And then now it's like, yeah, the gas prices are going to be temporary. And then the next thing you know, they're like, well, you know what? It's not temporary anymore. And the thing is, like, I don't know. There's definitely some appeasement going on. And if you recall, like even Elon Musk, right? The pioneer, right, of clean energy. He himself even said, like, it's time for us to start like getting us our energy independence back again, because like it's just not working. Whatever it is, if we're going to be dependent on other people and have them dictate the way our way of life is, which a lot of people are out to destroy. Americans who are living here, whether it be like Asian Americans or Russian Americans, everybody, we're here because of the freedom. And they're trying to take away that freedom by having us be dependent on other countries, and no less like authoritarian countries, right? Communist countries. Like, we're dependent on our medical supplies, our medicine from China. We're having our dependency be on, like oil and gas from Russia, you know what I mean? Like, or even Saudi Arabia, right? Instead of us like building
Or
ourselves up
Venezuela,
powerfully.
for example. Here in Florida, the people who live and escape from Venezuela, from Maduro's regime, they just, thinking what the Biden doing, because it's the same dictator, and the situation in Venezuela, it's a gangster regime.
Oh yeah, gangster. Like, it's a mafia here going on right now.
Yes.
It's insane. Like the next, I mean, like before the Ukraine incident happened, right? I think they were going to start talking about like taking away our guns and stuff. And I'm thinking like, oh wow, we are really following in Venezuela footsteps here. So it's really scary to see what these legislators are doing up in Washington. And yeah, that's it's I have no words for it. Like like it's just insane.
If it's even if we talk before the Musk, yes,
Yeah.
we just you mentioned there's the electric vehicles, and so it's also we have depend from the China because 85% of accumulators produced in China, not in United States.
Mm.
And so here's the thing: if we're talking about nuclear energy station here in the United States, we also have to buy uran in Russia, for example, because there is we also not produce it. And
Hmm.
what the Biden suggested, it's it's a looks like it. He wants to destroy United States because really, when the Biden 14 months, just 14 months, came to White House. The price of the average price of the United States on the gasoline was $2.53. Now average price is $4.25 for the gallon, and this is the average price. Who lives in California? They pay $5.50 price per gallon, and this is average price. Somewhere it's even higher.
7. Yeah.
Yeah, even higher. So that situation is, how it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and I don't, there's several millionaires and, people who come out and righteously say, even TV talk show hosts, right? They're saying like, oh, what's a couple dollars a gallon for gas, for peace, right? To
Mhm.
make sure that, we protect Ukraine. And I'm thinking like,
But that is
no,
lie. This is
it
lie because
is.
they try
Because
to
it's
turn
like
into.
$2 a gallon, and a car doesn't run on 1 gallon of gas. It's like, what are you thinking? And all these people who are speaking can afford that extra, $10-15 a tank. But what about the regular American people? Like these people are the ones who actually have to drive to make a living, right? Like they're on their way to work, driving back from work, and we have to take that, that hit. And that's not these are not policies that are made for America. Like this my hat says we the people. Like we the people have been forgotten for sure, right? Like definitely been forgotten. They're not even looked at in terms of like how is our income? How's the inflation affecting us? What can we do to mitigate that situation? Right? Can we open back up the XL pipeline? Can we be energy independent? And what are we doing in terms of all of these? Like now we have migrants, right? I didn't want to go into the illegal border crossing with 2 million people coming across the border from down south, right? And then now we also have Afghan refugees that are here, right? Of course, we want to have open arms for them because they supported us. And also, like, I mean, it's just they're not looking at the everyday Americans. They're giving exceptions to a small group of people, and we're creating laws that are accommodating that small percentage of people. It's just in 14. You said 14 months, and it feels to me like 14 years. So
Oh yeah, that's right. That's very right. And this situation, it's really need to do something because the conversation with the Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Iran, I think it's nothing to do. The Biden destroyed our reserve with the gasoline. It's 50 million gallons, and we had nothing changed. The price is still going raise up, and inflation is raised up. Biden do nothing with that, and that situation we have to change it because some teachers in Minneapolis, for example, they go to the rally because they don't have enough paycheck and they just do against something. Do you think the people go to the rally and protest against that higher inflation because journalists and media outlets they keep a silence about that? Nobody criticized. I mean, the Republican they are criticized, but they're not on a TV, and it means the people does not hurt them, and it looks like nothing, nobody against the Biden politics. But Biden, he had a good mood, and also Pelosi. They just talking about some foreign politics, Ukraine, about Putin, about the Putin, just guilty of our inflation, which is complete bullshit.
Are you allowed to say that? Well, it's your show, so you can say whatever you want. No, absolutely. What I was going to say was that I think what's scary is our media. Like right now, I really appreciate what you do right now with this show. You know, with your live stream, with your YouTube channel, and you know you're doing this with people who are patriotic, and I really admire that. That's really great because right now our media is really dumbing people down. Like if you look in the media, there are certain things that really should be known to the public, and it's being suppressed. People are kept in the dark, and they're being fed the same thing over and over and over again with the same narrative, like all over the place. And it's no longer like now it's just about whatever it is, the narrative that they want to drive, which makes me believe that like we are really, really in propaganda world right now, right? It's only whatever they want you to see, only what you want to, what they want you to hear. And that's all you get to hear about. Sometimes when I bring up certain things that are facts that I got from like, some overseas news or, some other information from elsewhere, like Americans don't know about it, like vaccine issues, things like that. And I said, all you have to do is just go find Israel News. They do so much research in terms of the vaccine. And people just don't know. They have no idea. And it's all been fed in a certain way that has you believe that who are the bad guys and who are the good guys. And of course, the bad guys are not here, you know? Like, so there's a whole propaganda series going on inside of our media. And that's the scary part is that we're not informed. If we are all informed and we all get to wake up and make sure we hold these media accountable, or find different sources of media, come to this channel, search out other channels that are nonpartisan, search out other news sources that you can trust and you can verify that. Like that's probably the best bet for us right now.
So, and that's all about domestic politics, and the situation is horrible. Also, because of the Republican does not have any tribune to share our opinion and what we're gonna do, and what the American people have to do. The even worse situation in Florida, because we don't have we just Republican state, but we actually don't have any Republican media sources who can support domestic Republicans. Let's talk about that. What we're gonna change? How we're gonna change that situation? Because we shown a live CPAC 2 weeks ago, and we were blocked on YouTube because of that. Can you imagine this? Just only because we show we're running live a CPAC, just only because that's a Republican opinion, only because of this.
That's why I said it's very scary. I'm glad that Governor DeSantis, like I think a year ago, he actually issued something that does not allow social media to block any of the candidates. So if you go to like Republican candidate like pages and sites and things like that, I think they still do have that fear. Like we're allowed to sue them for for our in protection of our First Amendment rights.
Is there any
Because
good
we have the
example
right
of
to.
how the Republicans sue the YouTube or somewhere? Because when we were blocked, I just mentioned this law signed by Governor DeSantis,
Mhm.
but YouTube does not pay attention on that even because it's a private business or something like that, and so there's no result on that. I have to hire lawyers. I have to go and file
Wow.
case in the court against of the YouTube. And can you imagine how rich YouTube is, how many lawyers they have, and what is my chance if I go to the court against of the YouTube? I mean, like regular people who live in Florida, for example.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of money to fight you in court, and they can just drag this out, even though they don't, even if they are not in the right to do that, right? I think, as state representative, what we would do is advocate with Congress to make sure that if these channels or these platforms continue to thwart our First Amendment rights, we really get repeal Section 230, which is a law that protects them from being sued, because it is a platform where the public can post. But right now you see that like how the other side right now, the administration, what they're trying to do is they're putting in someone into the FEC to make sure that communication is thwarted, right? Anything that is misinformation or disinformation, right, gets shut down right away. Like we were talking about cloth masks, how that didn't work for ages ago. And all of a sudden now it's become true. So, like I said, I think we have to be a little bit more savvy in our selection. Like maybe we could go to Rumble versus YouTube. We can use, other platforms and stop patronizing these. Right now we let them get so big and so popular and so available to us that we just don't see other options. Right now we're on YouTube and, we may be taken off midair. Who knows? I have no idea because I'm still talking about how YouTube is not good. But, if we go to other platforms and start spreading it that way, they know that they can't stop us anyway. Right?
I understand.
They continue to spread that. Mm-hmm. But I think it all comes from above. Like they're being protected right now by Section 230. Whenever we ask them to not censor, they would say that this is inappropriate material. And yet at the same time, like channels like YouTube and Instagram have like child porn. Like this is insane, right? Like things are not making sense right now and not making sense in the least bit. Like things that are common sense that we should know. I was talking to a police officer today about the Don't Say Gay bill, for example. It's not a Don't Say Gay bill. It's just that teachers shouldn't teach kids about gender when they're under 8 years old. And it's just not, things are being twisted and turned around and like manipulated into having people misunderstand. And if you don't look for yourself and like dig deep, it's not going to have you be clear on what it is that your decision in living your life and also protecting your rights as well.
And that also looks like a propaganda. You mentioned Section 230. The last conversation about that was that Trump was a president, the very of the last of his 4 years period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nothing going happened because it's still there. Do you think the next conversation is going to be after election 2022? Because we probably got majority. If we got majority in the Senate and the Congress, we can change that situation. Do you think it's time when we have to talk about Section 230 again?
We definitely need to talk about Section 230 again. But if you look at the ledger of donors to all these politicians, which they donate to both sides of the party.
You mean Republican Party?
Republican and Democrat.
And
these
Democrats.
These big tech industries like Facebook, Google, right, Microsoft, they donate equally to both sides because they know they can't hold the House and the Democrat side the whole time. So they got to spread it out a little bit. And this is just where our elected officials are working for themselves and not working for the people. This is why it's super important for us to when it comes time to election, don't just elect somebody with a familiar name, but really look at who that person is, what they stand for. And if you really want to know what it is, have them come out in public and say whatever it is that they are supporting, because then we can hold them accountable versus writing a private email and just saying, yeah, would you support Section 230? We have a congressional election coming up, right? Which is the same time as my election. This is our chance, right? Do we still want Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Do we still want, Federica Wilson? In this region, this area where we're living in, these are the two representatives that are both from the Democratic side. Are they supporting Section 230? Are they supporting free speech? Or are they actually more in tune to make sure that all the social media only shows whatever supports their narrative? Now, that's something that you really have to dig into and decide for yourself, right? We've seen their voting record. We know who donates to them. They can easily be found, and all of this is public knowledge. We are not in a country where, the politicians go behind closed doors. Well, they do anyway, but we are not in that kind of country where we can't find out, or we can't ask them straight out. So they work for us, and that's what you get to remember is that like our elected officials are elected by us to represent us. And if we think that we should have this freedom and have our rights protected, then we have to hold them accountable for doing so.
So you just mentioned about equality between Democratic and Republican on affected on the social media, for example. But Democrats, they just create the agenda not only in a media stream. Outlets, but in a social platform as well. All of them, because you can see the situation in Ukraine, for example, or some election 2020, and after that, they all got the similar agenda. Pretty much similar agenda, and so we cannot just do something with the social media or with some outlets. It's I think this is impossible right now because we don't have the same equality. We don't have the same time as the Democrats have in the social media. We cannot discuss about topics what we really want to discuss, but we have to follow in Democratic agenda right now. In this situation, Sergei Savinov, he asked you the questions. I want to ask you, Lynn, how can I believe to the politicians in general if that the people exist, what we can believe? And could you just, answer him?
Can you repeat the question again? I just got distracted by the rain.
Oh, yeah, yes. He's asking, can you believe the politicians at all? I mean, that's a situation with the rhinos and something like that. How can we believe the politicians? And can we, do something and following the politicians only, or we can do something like we can do, like a people, like we are the people. What have we do in this situation? Can we do to the riots on the rally and
No, that's a very good question, Sergey. Thank you for your question. So I'd like to say that we here in this country, right? I think there's a certain level of honor, especially when you want to go into an elected official position. Like whatever you say is whatever you do, right? There are politicians that will say things just to get you to vote for them. And otherwise, there are people who will, speak their mind and people won't like them. And we know that. Like our President Trump is kind of the same way. Like a lot of people don't like him, but he speaks his mind. He's like, it comes out. There's no filter. And yet some people also like that. So with that said, I think that the reason why our congressmen and women, our state representatives are elected every 2 years, just to give them that chance. You miss the first year, you get the second year, and then you're out. But the issue is too little people care about who they elect as their representative. And like for example, in this area that I'm running as state representative right now, has been Democratic for about 25 years, 24 years, since 1998. So yeah, 24 years. That's as far as I can go back and trace it. So we've had Democratic representatives here that did absolutely nothing for the people. And I've been knocking on some doors and I ask people, and people think that I am going to be up there against Nancy Pelosi. I'm like, no, I'm in Tallahassee, not DC. So they have no clue what their state representative does. Do you know that there's also a state Senate? And do you know what they do, right? Like there's all these little things that like people just don't even look at it because they ignore it. Some people don't even know who their city commissioners are or who their city mayor is.
And that's horrible. And that's horrible.
Yes. So
because how can we rely on any politics if we does know who is the representative of us?
Exactly. Yeah. So what I say to that, I say it's an effort, it's a team effort, right? We want our country to stay strong. We get to select who we want to represent us, right? At the same time, we get to hold them accountable. And if they don't behave or follow through with things that we want, then they get to leave. So it's as simple as that. But we all both have to be vigilant. A lot of people, and probably not your viewers on this channel, but a lot of people like really are resigned about politics. They're just so sick of the partisanship, how polarized we are right now, between the different races and things. And like if you're listening to this station, I really want to invite you. Like, look, we have Russian Americans here. Russian Americans are not Putin. Like Putin is Putin, and let Putin do his Putin thing, and we get to stop him as best as we can, like on the international level. But here, Russian Americans are Americans, right? Asian Americans are Americans. Like, we are here. This is where we call home. And I'd like you to invite you to accept that, because that's very important. Like, I know there's a lot of a lot of friction going on with, the Russian conflict with Ukraine. And to be honest, like Russian and Ukrainians on the ground level with people, they're all family. Would you agree with me, Nick?
Of course, yes. And the people, they're not the politicians. And also, we have the same situation here in the United States. The Biden is not my president. And so many people share that situation, said that opinion with me. So the Ella Ilyich, remember her? Her was in our the last broadcast when we been in a cafe. She just texted, social media works against us, unfortunately. And Olga Weber, she's also mentioned what Democrats. They have not 2 but 22 times for 2 years, and we need to term limits, because the Democrats. Look on Pelosi. You just mentioned her. She is 50 years in politics. 50 years, and her behavior. She looks like insane. Remember that while the Congress. That's insane.
Absolutely. No, and the thing is, like, what I find it like so manipulative. They are. One thing that I can't deny is that, like, Democrat candidates or elected officials, they are very charming. Okay. And I mean that like in a very admirable way. So they will charm you. And like, if you look at candidates, like that's like, actually, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the same way. They're very amicable. People love them, right? They come to you when they need your vote, when they need your money to vote, for election. And then like after they get elected, like you don't see any policies that actually make a difference in people's lives. And that's something to look at. Like, I think we can like someone, and there's someone who can get the job done. And you really have to look for someone who will get the job done. I'm going to address another question that Ella said, which is social media working against us. Actually, social media is definitely like the marketing PR segment of the Democrat Party, right? Anything they do, like if any of the things, like remember when back in the day before Biden was elected, he said, if you're black and you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Oh, yeah.
If you imagine that coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, like he would be impeached for the 4th time, right? So like there'd be no excuses for it. But with him, it's not, it's just, it fizzles away, right? Because they just choose to not even address it. Like, I don't know if anybody saw like a live podcast, a live video. I don't know if it was a Facebook or YouTube, but it was of a Boston mayor who is also, I think she's Asian American. And everything was saying like, you're destroying our city, you're this and that. And she was like, oh, there are no questions. And you see the feed of people coming up. Like it's that kind of suppression that like people don't, videos get taken down. Like my friends had no idea the Chinese were having concentration camps for Uyghurs, for example. Like, the Chinese never had an idea that there was Tiananmen Square. I mean, like that is the kind of propaganda that we're living in right now. And like, I invite you to like really explore for yourself, like what is really going on, because you cannot believe that. And until we get this, Section 230, out of the way and have them not be protected by the law anymore, I think that would be, that would be a good start. But it doesn't end there, because like you know, characters like Mark Zuckerberg, who is censoring all these things on Facebook. They're censoring them and just saying, oh, we didn't know that that was real or not real, but it's supposedly like it's coming from somewhere, so we deem it as disinformation. Mark Zuckerberg is also, if he funded like the last election, a couple $1 million per
Oh yeah,
supervisor of
even
election.
in the Georgia state.
Yeah. So when we have something working up against us, and it's actually just not so clear cut what it is, it's actually penetrated throughout our community and our society. This is something that like needs to be uprooted, because there's a whole mess of things that are going on right now. It's so tangled up together that we can't even find where we have to start. We just have to like clear it out, right? Like, or if Donald Trump would say, like, drain the swamp. Like, we really need to drain it and have it all like just desert it and let's start new, right? Everything, like, we get to start new, but it has to be the effort of the people who are going to the ballot, voting voting in the way that you want to see this country, by asking the important questions, doing the critical thinking from all the representatives that are running in office.
And not voting by mail, right? Because it's the mail ballots. It's a shortest way to how falsificate the result of the election.
It is probably the easiest way to turn an election, right? We've seen elections in Florida where the in-person votes were pretty close, and then as soon as the mail-in ballots came in, it was like that, right? So, and you don't know. As long as we don't keep these envelopes like anonymous, right? Party-wise, sometimes the party's printed on the envelope for the mail-in ballots. And you can guarantee, like, maybe most likely people will vote down the ballot. So if they throw that out, they may be losing some Democrat votes, but they'll be losing a lot of Republican votes for sure. So definitely voting in person is probably the best way. And I understand there are a lot of elderly people. There are a lot of people who are not available during the election time. But there's early voting. Make sure that your registration, people in your household, just clear out your own thing. Like, it's harder for the government to come in. Oh, I don't know how to say your name, but that is funny. Okay.
Yes, it is, because it's our life. It's honest, we saw the so many situations from chemistry voters saying Biden got all of them, but this situation not only in general but in Florida as well. And let's discuss about our domestic things, about domestic election for the representative. Just tell us what's going on right now.
Wait, Kate, I'm sorry. What's the question again?
Tell us about the news about the state representative election. What's the new going on right now?
You mean the legislation that is in
Yeah,
session right
for
now?
what you're running for, yes.
Oh, the one that I'm running for. I'm not clear.
You're running.
Okay, the one I'm running for. So so I'm running in District 106, right? So that covers part of Aventura. There's Golden Beach. There's Sunny Isles, coming all the way down Surfside, Indian Creek, Bay Harbor, Bal Harbor, Miami Beach, and part of North Miami. So in these cities, which is along the coast, mostly east of Biscayne. So I will be in this district, and I feel that I've lived in this area for about 3-4 years now, right? So with that, I mean, it's not a lot, but in the time that I've been here, I've been active with the city of North Miami Beach, and I've been appointed to several seats and committees for advisory boards. So I see the issues and problems that the people deal with. And these are not, I mean, the gas price, the inflation, this is dealt with everybody all over the country, right? We have instability of tourists coming in Miami Beach that causes crime occasionally. We have problems with, like, affordable housing prices, right? Like, now houses have gone skyrocketed through the roof right now. And that means like the regular person who is doing, who is making minimum wage, or even our retirees that are living off Social Security. I mean, it's getting tougher and tougher to survive here. I'm talking about, healthcare, making sure it's accessible and accessible and affordable for everyone. I am also looking at making sure that we parents have the right to choose what schools their kids go to. Now, with that said, like there are kids that are geniuses, there are kids that have special needs, there are kids that learn different ways. Um, we should have the money follow the child versus the child going to a cookie cutter school that is not able to teach our children. Or worst case is we send our kids to school that indoctrinate our kids into critical race theory, or transgender like narrative, teaching our children that they can be any sex, they don't have to identify, or they want to identify. And I'm not saying that like I don't want them to have that freedom to act, but it doesn't have to be ingrained into our children. They get to choose on their own. The schools have the duty to make sure
And
that
why
our
do you
children
have
are
to
educated
identify
and competitive.
yourself on this age? This is the question.
What's that?
So, why they have to identify you as a, just a gender in this age? This is the question. Why the school board, so ask
What do
them
they
that
have anything to
question?
do with this?
Yeah, I have no idea why. Because the people can identify can just decided about that type of the question when they're getting older normally, but not but they 7 or 6 years old or something, in this
Hmm.
case at this age.
Yeah,
That's weird.
yeah. So definitely that's something that's very important. I want our parents to have access to transparent curriculums so that they know exactly what their kids are learning. And anything that has to do with like porn or these crazy books that are available in our school libraries. Like people ask me like if would I ban those books from school libraries? I'd say yes. I mean, like I'm not banning books. I'm banning from school libraries where kids from all ages, right, are there to check out books to learn about stuff. These research libraries should be focused on whatever the curriculum of the school has. I mean, we're not talking about like porn novels and things like that for kids to be. I'd like to encourage kids to read, but like if those are the books that encourage them to read, then we're not really, teaching our kids the right things.
And CRT as well, of course.
Oh, CRT is the worst. Yes. I
Yeah.
think you guys probably know better than anyone, right? The the critical theories.
Yes, because it's so un-American. Because so many American families run against of that, and so we saw so many videos. Even it's not banned in YouTube. When the parents came for the school and they just share your opinions with not gonna support that. We take our children away of the schools because it's horrible when people came when the small children's came home and they started crying because they have a not proper color of the skin, for example.
No, it's just a way to divide us. Like in reality, like we all have more in common than we have differences. We have differences in culture and the way we were raised, right? How our parents, like, how they were raised. But in reality, we all have the same desires. Like everybody really wants to be free, right? And of course, like, being taken care of is nice. But if being taken care of, and you got to, choose, you want to be taken care of by getting in line for bread, or you want to, be taken care of, or have your freedom and go win your own bread. Like, I think that's just, a question that you have to ask yourself. I think a lot of people who have been in societies or in countries that have that kind of restriction appreciate freedom more than anyone else.
So we've got another question, and
Hmm.
Sergey asked you, do you really believe in the honest election, and what is going to be wait for us in the future in the political situation, in your opinion?
Um, there's no perfect world, in my opinion, right? There's only a little bit of, there's like a gap of something that we can tolerate, something that is not going to tip or make a difference. right? I mean, there's going to be people who register to vote in some place and then forgot that they did that. And, that's why I said, like, we ourselves have to be vigilant, right? We got to make sure that we're the only one registered to vote. Our address is the only one that the supervisor of election has, right? And you are clear that this is it. Like, and then you get your ballot and you treat it like, like it's $1 million. And this is something that people also forget, that our right to vote in America is very, very special. I come from a country where your vote is worth about $30. you know, so somebody pays me $30, I go into the ballot, I mark whoever he wants me to mark, right? And here in America, no matter if you're Elon Musk or if you're just Lynn Sue, your vote is one equal vote. Like, Elon Musk does not have more vote than I do. And this is so valuable that we have to cherish that, like, and make sure that our right, our voice is protected, and you're only one. You are the one, and you are it. Like, you have to protect it with everything that you have. We can't just let it loose and let people just, go off. If it needs an ID, go get an ID. Like, oh God, these people who are saying, like, some people don't have IDs, some people don't know where to go vote. I mean, that's insane, right? So the fighting, okay, I'm seeing, yeah, that's why we have to fight for honest elections. Definitely we have to fight for honest elections. Some of the legislation that we have right now that's coming out, there is, I believe there's one with Danny Perez is fighting for voter integrity right now up in the House. Well, by Friday we'll know if this bill will pass. There is also another one that had passed in the last session. It has to do with, like, me as a candidate, for example. I have the right to send my people or my volunteers or my staff into the election to check and make sure all the mail-in ballots and everything are matching, right? I'm not clear on exactly what the mechanism of that is. I'd have to study a little bit more. But basically what I'm saying is, like, we definitely want honest elections. I don't want dishonest elections, because then why vote? Right? If we don't have integrity inside of our voting system, we're no different from, like, Belarus. And sorry for the pun about Ukraine, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
seriously, right? I think, like, Belarus their president won in a landslide. Like, almost nobody voted against him. I wonder why. So there's so many countries like that, and it's frightening that if we are going to walk down that path. So before we lose that, right now, like I said, we all need to stay vigilant. We all need to fight together. It's not just the legislators. We need you. If there's something that you don't like, right, you get to speak up about it. And like, protest is one way. Not everybody loves protesting. We have various different ways of how we can cause our elected officials to be representing us, right? It could be in the form of an email, in the form of a visit, an appointment. Especially, we are, like, let's say, like, I get elected as your state representative. You don't like something, you come to me, you talk to me about it, right? And, like, I intend to be available in that sense to make sure that, like, yeah, you are, I am fighting for something that is important to you. So basically, like, voter integrity is very important. There will be small discrepancies and errors in a number of, like, in the hundreds of thousands. That margin of error is negligible, but it's not to say that it's okay, right? We just have to make sure the fundamentals of it are in. So we have our voter rolls cleaned, right? People who are voting from the cemetery are not voting. So, like, we got to make sure that all the voters are alive, right? And we got to make sure that
At least.
yeah, there's no double voting. People voting in New York, people voting in Florida, like 2 votes in 2 different states. Like, we got to clear that out and get clean on that. And that's something that the state really gets to work on, for sure.
Yes, you're right. And you mentioned Belarus and Russia, why the people not voted against of the politicians. They voted, actually, but they just falsificate the process when the people
Yeah.
looks like voted almost 100% in the other situation for that politicians. In the United States, we just divided a little bit, I don't know, 60%, and in some situations, some cases, I mean, in the domestic elections, we got just only 28 voters between, which is the close. But we also see how many falsifications coming up in Florida, for example, or other states. And I'm afraid personally what in the future, in the very near future, we got a situation the same as Russia, for example, when the people vote for almost 100% for the one or another politician, and that is a scary situation, and we have to fight against it.
I want to put something in also. I mean, like, I think this is already dead in the water, but it may come up at any time because if like for example, right, they're trying to pass this federal voting system, right? Like there's a federal overreach coming into our voting system, and that's how things can start to turn south really fast, right? So our duty is to make sure that the states remain sovereign over their voting laws and voting procedures. Don't let that go into the federal government. Like having them control everything is just a death sentence for our republic. Like while we remain sovereignty in Florida, so it's so important that like if you haven't registered to vote, make sure you go vote because your vote is equal to Elon Musk's vote, right? Your vote is equal to Joe Biden's vote and Nancy Pelosi's vote. So make sure that you register to vote. We have a governor election coming up in 2022, and that's when I'm also up for election. So there's Governor DeSantis, right? We have all the Congress people. There's several Congress candidates that you get to study up on, right? I think there's Reuben Young, Carla Spalding. I mean, like in our area, we have oh goodness, Laverne Spicer. I don't know if Patricia Gonzalez is still here. We've got Frederica Wilson. We've got several people that you really get to like call them up, find out. Are you going to vote this way for that? Like just make sure that like all the important points. And here's another thing. To find a candidate that is ideal, and to rule. And I'm saying this also as a kind of as a protection for myself too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pro-life, I'm small government, low taxes, like, I'm for the small people, right? Like all of that. And yet there may be something that like when you hear and you don't automatically rule them out as a rhino. As long as they are still protecting the Constitution, they're standing for the Constitution, and you also get to know your Constitution, right? Like all of this is what I'm encouraging all of us to do is like we really get to be proactive in our government, and not just because for ourselves, but for generations to come, right? To keep America like this country that is like the shining beacon on the hill, right? Like people aspire to come live here. And at the same time, what we also get to do is we also get to make sure that the quality of life of Americans is as good as what other people see it is. And really, it is already very good, but we are going to make it better, right? We're going to make America great again. Yep.
Yes, make gasoline back again and $1.57. Also, please. Okay, and on the big on the end of our conversation, I got the message. Irочка, American's mind was the masterful switch of the election right now, and Sergei Savinov, he asked my opinion about the election. I really believe we have to, we can change situation only from the domestic level. There is last thing to go and vote for the president because it changed nothing completely. So we got domestic elections, so we have to choose the right candidates. We got 2021 middle presidential election, which is very important for us. This is the main things. Can we change America? Can we back our gasoline price back and America first, or not? This is the very important thing.
Let me add. I want to add something really quickly. It's something that I heard about this. I've had so many conversations with different people, and what I'm hearing also is if you don't think, oh, I'm from Thailand. So what I was going to say that like your local election, don't overlook that. I mean, people always get excited about a presidential election, and rightfully so. I'm excited about presidential elections too. But when you have your election in your municipality, right, wherever you're listening from, like the city that you're living in, the city that you're paying taxes in, like sometimes you get to look at that budget. How do they spend that money? There are a lot of these municipalities that say that they are pro police, and yet they don't hire any more police. If there is crime in your area and there is no police increase in the force, you have to look at that too. You know, I mean, like that is where it's immediate for you, right? You walk out the door and that is your safety. That is your children's safety. If there are schools there in your area, are they teaching the right things? Are they CRTing your children, like indoctrinating them? Like we get to all be vigilant about that, and like, you know, send your emails to Nick or to me, right? So my website is worldwideweb.lynsu,
It's on the
Lynn.
screen. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Yeah, lynsu.com. And my email is just lynn@lynsu.com. So email me, and my phone number is on the website. Like, feel free to call me. Let me know if there's anything in that area or in your area that, you know, I can cause and help and support to make sure that, like, you know, we are living the lives and we're living the American dream. Like, I'm here for you, for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, Lynn Sue, and we're really waiting for the next conversation with you. Thank you for that time with us.
Yes, thank you. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.